Well, hello, mwah, 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 mwah. Welcome to the Magical Mystery School, and thank you so much for coming back to Symbols of the Tarot Class 27. All right. And remember to like and subscribe, it's free. Okay. And also, I wanted to remind everybody I do have all these classes on a playlist. So if you go to my channel, just the icon with my face on it, and you'll see a playlist for Symbols of the Tarot and also one for astrology for beginners. So I hope you both, so you get to use both of those basically. Okay, so again, I'm just starting at the on the board here, looking at our keys. And I want to do just a tiny bit of review, and then we'll jump right in with the fours. Okay, and I mentioned this in the last one, but I kind of wanted to reinforce this, to always think about the major arcana card, and that relates to the number. So for example, like the aces or the ones. So think of the magician too as sort of kind of being maybe the ruler of those four cards, because you can see he's got the ace on each one of the tools on his trestle board or his workbench, whatever you want to think of it. So, and maybe this is the magician's hand that's coming in out of the clouds here to show us as above, so below. So just keep that in mind. And I kind of mentioned this, but the twos relate to the high priestess, and I thought that two of swords really did the most justice to her. She's the moon key, and here we see the moon up here, very watery, and we see that throughout all the keys, but very quietly sitting on her throne, making her choices and decisions. And then finally, I realized, threes relate to the Empress, and I totally forgot to mention the baby here. Remember, the pentacles are our material world, the 3D plane. So, and remember, she's kind of supposed to be pregnant, and here you can't get much more creative. Threes are our creative number than having a baby in the 3D world. So even though we have artisans and other things like that, and also the empresses are ruling our heart, and if you're going to go into the world of romance, yes, you're going to have a lot of joy, but yes, you're going to have some pain too. So watch out for that, and looking abroad and such. So I wanted to just emphasize that, and I'll be doing that now throughout. For example, like when I talk about the fours here, I'm going to put the Emperor out here, as well as the four minor arcana that relate to, that are the fours, basically. Now, the number 4 is one of my favorites. And I guess that's because I'm a landscape architect, because the 4 is the number of the builders. Because you have to have 4 corners to make a foundation for a building, that kind of thing. But just in general, that's what the 4s are. And here we have this very authoritarian figure kind of ruling these. But I wanted to mention, I thought this was so cool when I discovered this. The 4s are basically made up of a T-square, and anybody who's an architect or engineer might have played with a T-square. They're still selling them, so I guess somebody's still using them. I grew, in my career, I used a T-square for decades, basically. And then we also use triangles. So we think of the 4 as a triangle sitting on that T-square. And I thought that was so cool. So again, that shows why 4s correspond to the builder mentality. Okay, so 4s are very solid, very, they are the foundation, that kind of thing. So when we look at the 4 of Wands here, well, the first thing, to me, this is definitely a card of of celebration, right? Sometimes it's even called the marriage card. Although I've seen different write-ups, are these men, women, that kind of thing. But no matter what, it is a celebration. And we also see the two 11s. 1111 is kind of a mystical number also. But there is unity here with the arbor here that's connecting the two sets of wands. But notice how the people in the background are leaving. So this may be denoting a celebration that's on its, it's kind of ending basically. Now this is another one of my favorite cards here, the Four of Pentacles, because I love the way this guy, you're not getting any of his coins, right? He is hanging on to these. So this is kind of a key of security and insecurity. And remember to always look when you're doing a spread, what's surrounding these cards, so that, because that will help inform you whether it's security or insecurity. But I also must admit for myself, and maybe that's because I'm a Taurus rising, but if I've got a little coins saved up in the bank and that kind of thing, it actually makes me feel much more free to have that backup finances kind of in the bank, basically. So again, this can be insecurity and security. Now, when we move on to the Four of Wands here, and notice our character here is laying on top of the Ace of Wands, and it's got Ace of Wands, swords. Got three swords coming down on him, basically. And sometimes this is called the coffin card, because this is, maybe it's a sarcophagus, is that what it could be called, that you see in a lot of medieval churches over in Europe with a knight or something sculpted onto the top of it. But because swords are mental, think about, that perhaps this is a call to step back, to think about things, or give yourself a break. It's always better to maybe take a little nap once in a while instead of getting sick with the flu and being down and out for a week. So that's kind of what I see this card sort of telling us, is kind of, take a break, And then also this stained glass window, whenever you've seen stained glass in any of these keys, it's referring to creativity, beauty, spirituality, information along those lines. And then the Four of Cups here. Now, I always saw this character as being a little on the, crossed arms like that. He's like, I don't like it. I've got three choices here, and I'm still, it's my way or the highway. I want what I want, that kind of thing. But I've heard other interpretations where this is just showing patience, waiting for this Ace of Cups to come in from the ethers, basically, and giving you more emotional information and such. So that's a real quick review of the fours here. And we'll move on to the fives, which give us a little bit different information. And, so the fives would relate to the Hierophant, of course. Whoops. And we've got the Five of Cups, Swords, Pentacles. See how they all lay out here. Okay, I think that's good. Getting better. Okay. And fives in general are talking about, remember the Hierophant is our institutions, and it used to be called the Pope. So this can be seen as kind of a authoritarian figure with two below here. But it does, these two guys are definitely not up on the dais. So there's a little bit of being outside of limits, to being a little bit of an outcast. Oh, there's my bell, but I'm going to just keep going here. But in general, the law, and perhaps the one of the other things that comes out in these keys is ruling by fear. And do we really want to do that? Is that really appropriate? Or do we want to just, let go of that fear and get beyond it? Okay, so when we look at the wands here, the Five of Wands, I love the expression argy-bargy. That's from our, I heard that first from Lena from Tarot Down Under, and I think that's a great word for that. Here we've got these 5 characters, and they're not wearing uniforms. They're all dressed differently. So it's not like armies battling. It's actually, wands are fire, so we're a lot of passion, a lot of, belief in your own opinion. So these 5 are probably just arguing about their own passionate beliefs, basically. And they're not really whacking each other in particular. There's a little bit of that. Most of them just have like one hand on that wand, which isn't very secure anyway. And sometimes we need to go through a little argy-bargy to get to where we want to be. Now the 5 of Pentacles, that's kind of one of these left out in the cold, these poor characters here in the snow. And I've always thought of them that they're running around the side of the church to get in the front door. And this here we see the stained glass window again, spiritual information and such. But some have seen this where the church isn't letting them in. Historically, some have called this that these characters have leprosy. So, they wouldn't be welcomed inside the church, which would be sad. I still think with my upbringing that churches should be a place of protection, especially for the down and out, which these characters definitely are. Now with the 5 of Swords here, this is kind of sometimes referred to as the bully card, because this guy, he's got this really obnoxious smirk on his face, and he's won. These 2 characters have just thrown down their swords. He's obviously collected a few other swords from people. Now this character way in the back, he does look a little hunched up and like he's upset and sad, or maybe he's just blowing his nose, who knows. But this guy, he just looks like he's just thrown down his sword and is kind of walking away in disgust. So is this character, is this bully, has he really won? Or is it a win if everybody just walks away from you because they just don't like your, the way you've been bullying people? Now, and I have also seen, though, in some decks, this character presented in a more sympathetic way. So he has won the battle, but in a more kinder way than this sort of obnoxious way this one's characterized. Now here with the 5 of Cups, we think about loss. That's kind of the key word for this particular card, because here this character is definitely focused on the 3 cups that are spilt. There's no more, they've turned over, and he doesn't even see the 2 cups behind him that are still standing upright. Now, honestly, I thought this was a man for literally years, and then finally I read somewhere how this was a woman, and sure enough, she does have a little bun there on the back of her head. But so, gender can be a little fluid in these key cards for sure. So what we're hoping is this character can just turn around and just see these 2 cups that are still filled, pick them up, cross over that bridge of the stream of consciousness, and get back home to where there's a little bit of safety and security. Okay. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the 6s. And like I said, I'm going to try to keep these more like 15 to 20 minutes as opposed to going longer like I have in the last few, because I know you guys are all busy and you got lives to lead, things to do, people to see, so I really want to make these so they're small enough pieces that you can take a little time to just digest them a little bit at a time. Now, of course, the Lovers, the 6, is, and I should also mention, just remember, we always in numerology want to take things down to the smallest number, or the single digit number. So for example, like 17, the star card, 7 plus 1 is 8. So that would take us down to the strength card. So, and you can kind of see how these two have a little bit of a relationship to each other if you meditate on that. So I wanted to emphasize that one time too here. Okay, so back to our lovers, our 6. You know, these characters, they're still in the Garden of Eden, and remember 6 is 2 times 3, so it's kind of double the harmony and artistic ability and creativity we saw in the 3s. But just remember, there can be a little bit of self-absorption here. This character is definitely not looking up at spirit here, and it can even be taken to the point where it's a little bit of gossip and self-indulgence and that kind of thing. But so let's kind of look at how those ideas come into the minor arcana here. So here we've got this key is often called the victory card, because we do have this victorious character. He's got the wreath of success on his head and on his wand here, and he's got the crowd here cheering him on with upright wands. But maybe we're not sure. Maybe they're just going yay, because they're sort of starting to turn around and walk away. So we're not quite sure how much they really are cheering him on. Because I've also heard people say this is the key of look at me, look at me. Even the horse is looking up at him. So, you know, again, there's that sliding scale of meanings. Now the 6 of Pentacles, we've got the pentacles up in the air. So the material goods are coming down from spirituality. And this well-dressed figure could be just someone rich who's giving to the poor. And let me give my you know, rah-rah for giving to charity. You know, especially us in the West and the United States, we have so much bounty, you know, and even if you don't feel like you can give goods or money, you can give a smile. When you go to the grocery store, thank the person that's your checkout person or bagging your groceries. Thank them for their service to you personally. And you'll be amazed at how that will lift someone. But here we see this character. He also can be that higher self who's kind of weighing out, making sure he's giving equal amounts. So just remember, sometimes you're going to be that person giving out the charity, and sometimes you are going to be the person giving that charity. So just remember, give and take is all one thing, really. Okay, now when we go to the 6 of Swords, and this key is often kind of termed as the going from choppy waters to still waters. So here we have this kind of surviving characters here. They're protected by these swords, but they're being taken across this body of water of emotions by their higher self to calmer waters for sure. So so this is that's kind of the ultimate meaning of this key, is to just hang in there. You're going to smoother waters, no matter how rough it's been. And then finally here, the 6 of Cups. This is the one with it has 2 children as the focus. And we do have one adult back here that's kind of watching over things, but primarily this is a key that's showing us the beauty, the love of, you know, hopefully you've got some unconditional love somewhere in your childhood and your past, and that you can just remember about playing in the summertime in that beautiful Garden of Eden and enjoying life, and just really not only receiving unconditional love, but giving unconditional love too, to your own children. But primarily this is looking at the past. Okay, so I think that's good for today. And we'll start with the 7s in the next class. And just remember, from there to here, from here to there, funny things are everywhere. Okay, bye guys. Thank you so much.